Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be sharing with you the tools that I would recommend to any beginner learning how to can. Okay, so there's a ton of different tools that you could choose when you are learning how to can, and it can be kind of overwhelming. So I wanted to show you the tools that I use to water bath can that I would recommend to any beginner. So the first tool is actually something kind of unexpected. It's a silicone trivet. So a silicone trivet can be used in the bottom of any pot that you already own, and it can transform a regular pot into a canning pot. So like I cook artichokes, all kinds of things in this regular old pot. See how this is not that big? I put it in the bottom of the pot. Oops. I can put this silicone trivet in the bottom of this pot, and it makes a base onto which I can rest my canning jars. And that silicone trivet can transform this regular pasta pot or artichoke pot or whatever into a canning pot. So that is the first tool that I recommend to a brand new beginner. Instead of buying one of those giant speckled black and white traditional canning pots, you can just get a $10 silicone trivet from Amazon or wherever and use a pot that you already have. For water bath canning, another tool that you need to have is a jar lifter. So it's like a pair of tongs that is specifically designed for lifting jars, and it works by grasping the jar, and you can use it to pull it out of the boiling water, or if you're using a steam canner, it just grabs the really hot jar and lifts it off the steam canner and rests it on the countertop for you. So it is absolutely essential if you're doing water bath canning in the boiling water process, and really handy for steam canning. Not absolutely essential for steam canning, but very handy. Very often this tool is sold in a kit with a funnel. Normally I really like tools that are recyclable and typically metal or plastic. However, a funnel that you can see through is really handy for one particular reason. I don't know if you're able to see this, but when you use a funnel that you can see through, see how when you see into the funnel, you can see the threads of the jar. You can see the threads. When you're filling your glass jars, and you're filling them with salsa or applesauce or whatever you're filling them with, you'll be able to tell how full your jar is because the funnel is clear. If you were using an opaque funnel, that wouldn't be quite as handy, right? So I recommend for a beginner, if you're going out and buying a funnel, I recommend a clear funnel. There are two different kinds of jars that I recommend for a beginner canner. If you're going out and getting jars either used or new, these are the kinds that I like. The first, I think that is the most versatile, is the wide mouth pint. A pint jar holds 2 measuring cups of sauce or food product or whatever. I think that's about right for lots of family sizes. It's about right for a dinner size amount of pasta sauce. It's not so much jam that you wouldn't eat it up before it went bad in the refrigerator. It seems to be a really versatile quantity for lots of different types of recipes. I like that it's easy to clean. A quart jar is a little bit bigger, and it's a little bit hard to clean the bottom of, okay, both in the dishwasher and by hand. I don't particularly like that. Also, if you're canning smaller jars like this is just 2 measuring cups, you can can them in shorter processing times and in smaller pots, like that smaller pot that I showed you. So you don't have to have a bigger processing pot that takes longer to come to a boil. By canning in smaller jars and smaller everything is a lot faster. So I recommend a wide mouth pint to a beginner. The other size jar that I really like to recommend is one that I think a lot of people don't necessarily think of, and it's an itty bitty 4-ounce jam jar. Okay, the top of this is still a standard regular mouth, so you don't have to buy specialty lids. It's just a regular mouth. but it's a teeny tiny quantity of jam or salsa or hot sauce or something really small. What's really fun about this is that when you're getting started canning, it can be so fun to share what you've preserved and give it to people, right? But it's kind of a lot of work to make this much and give it to everybody you know and every friend and family member that you have, right? But little bitty 4-ounce portion, okay, you can make a batch of something and share it with a lot of people in this quantity, right? This is also really ideal for a recipe that you're not really sure if it's something that you think like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this, or I don't know if everyone's gonna really like a lot of this. Like I made tomato jam and canned it in tiny jars like this because it was kind of a savory, strong tasting preserve, and not a lot of people have eaten tomato jam, for example, and I canned it like this, and it was a small thing that people could taste and try, and if they didn't love it, it wasn't a big deal, but if they did, it was like, oh, this isn't a huge commitment, it's a low commitment size. So I love recommending a teeny tiny jam jar, 4 ounces, to beginners. One tool that everybody who's canning, beginner, intermediate, advanced, has to have is brand new lids. Brand new. Some people will tell you, and they're wrong, that you can can with used lids. That's not so. You might be able to get a jar to seal with a used lid, but that seal will eventually give out in the pantry. Okay, that seal won't hold true. It won't be faithful to you. So brand new lids is a really important piece of equipment or pantry item you need to just get new, spend the $2.50 or $3.50 or whatever it is at your grocery store for a dozen and can with new lids. You can use used lids for storing dry goods or crayons. I use them for lots of different things around the house, but you can't can with them. You need new lids. One piece of equipment that I love for canning that's not actually necessary, but I use it all the time, and I think it is so, so valuable, is a food mill. A food mill is a way of making a super smooth puree, and it's like, this has no motor, right? There's no electrical component, no motor, no plug-in. And it's just a way of putting food in the hopper up here, and then you turn this handle, and beneath comes super smooth applesauce, or jam with no seeds, or whatever you want to puree or process, comes out the bottom. And most food mills come with interchangeable blades, which is kind of like the different sides of a box grater. So you can choose the degree to which the food is processed. My favorite example of this device's utility is that when I make applesauce, I don't have to peel or chop or core the apples. I cut the apples in quarters. I leave the peels, stems, seeds, everything on. Simmer the apples until they're really soft. Scoop them into the hopper. Turn the handle, and all the seeds, stems, cores, everything stays up top, but just super smooth applesauce falls in the bottom into the bowl below, or the saucepan below. And that saves so much time having to peel and core, and all that work is saved. And I really love that these are all metal. You can take all the parts apart and wash them either by hand or in the dishwasher. It's a really, really valuable tool that I think it just makes your canning life a lot easier. I think they're an awesome tool. I would recommend any canner get one. And then the final tool that I will recommend today is a steam canner. So a steam canner, I have other videos about steam canners in blog posts on my blog, The Domestic Wildflower, and this is what they look like. On top is a thermometer. It tells you the temperature inside this steam canner. And steam canners work same way a water bath canning process works, with heat to process your jars. But you're only filling up the bottom with 2.5 quarts of water. So while you're waiting for a giant traditional water bath canning pot to come to a boil, you're only waiting for this for 5 minutes to come to a boil. So it saves a ton of time. And if you're concerned about saving electricity or propane, or you're cooking in some sort of alternative kitchen like a tiny house, or you're cooking on a sailboat, or any kind of situation that's a little non-traditional, steam canners are the hot ticket. Because they're ready so much faster, they can save you a ton of time canning. And I would recommend them to anybody getting started canning, or someone who's already been canning for a long time. They're not harder to use than a water bath setup. They're easier, in fact. And because I already know how to water bath can, and if you know how to water bath can, you could purchase a steam canner and then have both on your stove at the same time, and you could be canning double time. So those are the canning tools that I recommend to a beginner. And I would love for you to get the canning equipment checklist by clicking the link below, and I'll see you around the blog, The Domestic Wildflower. See you guys soon. I would love to invite you guys to sign up for my new book's waitlist. The book is called Love in Two Jars, and you can sign up for the book's waitlist at loveintwojars.com or by clicking the link below.